Larry. And now to Capitol Hill, where the House Financial Services Committee is talking about financial regulation among proposals in today's hearing, bolstering the authority of the SEC. Two members of the committee join us now. Melissa Bean, a Democrat from Illinois. We also have Shelley, Capito, a Republican from West Virginia. Thanks to both of you for joining us. Congresswoman Bean, let me start with you. You say you think it's very likely we're going to see major financial reform this year from outside the Beltway. That doesn't appear to be the case to us. Why are you so confident?
Well, I think there's more consensus on this than people realize. Much of the hearings we're having now are following previous hearings that we've been having over the last year and a half. But there's no question there is general agreement that we need greater oversight to protect investors and consumers, increased transparency and accountability, and stability in the market.
Ms. Capito, what's doing with too big to fail? Any mention today? As you know, taxpayers are pretty unhappy about bailout nation.
Well, they are, and I join the taxpayers in rejecting the notion of too big to fail. And I think we have to make sure that the regulation that we put forward is smart, and that the too big to fail parentheses is not carried forward, because I think that gives those institutions, will give them an implicit backstop of the government and a certain advantage over a lot of other financial institutions. And I hear from my constituents daily that the frothing of money coming from D.C. or to these financial institutions to bail them out is leaving a sour taste in their mouth.
Congresswoman Bean, it seems like when it comes to Wall Street, traders are always able to arbitrage one step ahead of whatever regulation you put into place. Is the answer maybe more oversight or more enforcement of the laws that are already in place rather than trying to redesign regulation again?
Well, it's definitely about better regulation, not more regulation. And I would also concur with my colleague that we absolutely have to move away from any type of government implicit guarantee of bailouts and instead move towards resolution authority. So those institutions that are failing, in the same way the FDIC has been able to wind down banks without disruption in the market systematically, that the Fed would be able to do the same thing with other financial institutions.
Well, Ms. Capito, what's the biggest sticking point right now? What are you hearing from today's hearings? I mean, we've been having this on and on and on and on. Doesn't seem to get resolved. There's no resolution authority for the resolution authority. What's the sticking point right now?
Well, I think the sticking point is the fact that the government's been in the bailout business. The government's been picking winners and losers. The government's been reaching, taxpayers' dollars into our auto dealers, into private entities. And I think that there's got to be a lot of caution here. We have to do it the right way. And I think, transparency, sunlight's the great disinfectant here. The more transparency we have, I think the better. But to get to the last question, I think a lot of what happens is that maybe some of the folks who are regulating in the SEC and others, we need a little gray hair in there to make sure that they can stay one step ahead of those who are arbitraging or making the new financial instruments that are sort of one step ahead of the regulations. What does that mean?
What's the first thing you want to do? I mean, what would you like to see passed today that would make a real difference? Give me one example.
Well, I think one example would be to, instead of having everything, siloed, I think that if we take the regulatory powers that we have within the existing framework and, create a council where there's some unifying and a lot of talking across those silos, I think that would have been very helpful in the past, and I think that would be helpful in the future.
Ms. Bean, you want to give the Federal Reserve uber systemic regulator, make them all powerful?
Well, I think there's multiple proposals on how you have systemic risk oversight, but there's no question we need umbrella access to the data that goes through holding companies down to the subsidiary level to really see where there are threats to financial stability, particularly to institutions that can create ramifications across the broader economy. And that's why we need resolution authority, again, which is sort of the anti-bailout approach, so that we can do that without creating those ramifications.
Okay, let's leave it there. Thank you, both of you, for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.